So, I made the boys watch a furry anime.
You're watching / listening to the Clash KO podcast.
This is the show we talk about why anime sparks so much passion among
lot
its
of passion.
among its fans.
I'm Colton Cruz.
Brianna Marshall.
Wyatt Garland.
Like what you hear, like what you see, subscribe to YouTube or your podcast of your choice so you won't miss out on a knockout discussion.
Today we're talking about Beastars.
Okay.
The furry anime that we were made to watch by Brianna. Brianna,
Okay.
explain what Beastars is for us.
So Beastar basically is Zootopia, but an anime. Just kidding. So basically Beastar is a manga that was released years ago, and Netflix was like, hey, this will be a good idea to turn into an anime, and we watched it.
People liked BoJack Horseman, didn't they?
This will work. This will carry over.
This is cheaper.
Yeah. Oh, and it's TVMA. Cool. This is edgy. This will work. Like, oh boy.
No, I mean, obviously it's based on a manga, but I mean, it is the box checker of everything the furry fandom wants, right? Like,
Yeah.
I would assume. I mean, like, full disclosure.
We're not
I'm not a furry.
furries.
Wyatt's not a furry. Brianna.
Okay, look, I know. Stop. I'm gonna pause.
She really likes Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Calm down. Okay, so I'm not a furry, but I know a lot of friends and fellow cosplayers who are furry, so love them all. Y'all choice, respect y'all, but it was great. I liked it. So I'm gonna start right here.
Okay.
I really like Zootopia because it hit factors that we really don't talk about in IRL, like racism, for example. So they did a really smart way. It's like herbivores and carnivores, and we know there's an issue. So I do like that this show kind of does the same thing. Also, there's colors and nice animation. I think it's good. I think it's great.
The scene composition is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes it looks pretty, like, for sure. But I mean, so just going back to that checklist, though, I mean, it is wolves and a lot of close-ups of hands touching other people's body parts, tail touch.
It
is
listen.
made to be incredibly sensual.
Oh,
the way
no.
they make it.
Well,
also, they're all wearing suspenders and stuff, which,
Yeah.
if you've seen a lot of furry art, I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, it's in line with what, like, the American furry fandom, like,
Yeah.
experiences, and this is obviously a manga artist
Right.
who saw that and, like, made a manga,
Mhm.
like, his own, story about, like, kind of in this, like, fandom. And now it's on Netflix.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because it's definitely one of those ones that it's like TVMA because they do eventually get very touchy-feely and they are talking about some sex
Mature
stuff, which
things.
is fine.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that all of those things, but then it's also clearly like kind of like at a high school level, like
They're in college, sir.
They're 17.
They're 17. They're in like a private dormitory thing. It's just the
I mean, is
The
it
issues-
Animal Year? I don't know.
I don't know.
the issues the animals are the characters are sort of grappling with. They're coming of age and like coming to terms with their sexuality and stuff like that. He even says he's 17. Like it is about that group, but then we're also talking about
They're just like, okay, we got a bunch of herbivores. Like, can I eat or
Yeah.
not?
sexual tension is literally the main line of the show.
Yeah, and it's called Beastars because it's like alpha is the
Yeah,
idea, right?
that's,
There is a Beastar, and in the show right now, we only watched the first 2 episodes. That's all we've managed to get through so far.
I'm watching more.
So the Beastar right now in their little university is a like deer, right? Like,
Yeah.
and he's got this like he's like a drama kid. He's like the leader of the drama club,
Right.
And he's got this weird like. And he's like an idol among the school students, but he's got this weird power over people who are even carnivores, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right. He's
like
king of the
dominates
beasts.
Yeah.
out as the like king of the beast. He's the beast star.
Yeah, he's the beast star, and that's interesting. I guess it comes to play in a lot of dynamics.
Puts a lot of tension between him and the main character. So the main character is a wolf,
A lone
who is
wolf.
this enormous guy named Legoshi.
Yeah.
And it's about him. So far, the series, there's like a mystery of somebody gets murdered by a carnivore, and then it's him coming to terms with, he's getting these like carnivore instincts, and he meets this rabbit, and she takes off her clothes for them. I don't know what's
Really?
going on.
Spoilers!
Really?
Spoilers!
First 2
You
episodes.
just gotta watch the episodes. You'll have a laugh like we will.
Put a spoiler warning at the front. But
Spoiler
like,
warning.
I don't think that's a spoil. It's like the.
I mean,
it's,
look, so-
it's the first episode that like anything happens in.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I guess really the idea is so we watch these first 2 episodes and then we think, okay, well, where do we want to see where the series goes or this and that? And personally, I'm not trying to like talk down the media. I'm just saying like, all right, well, this is 100% about like animalistic sexual tension. Like, it's not like the characters have anything else.
Right. I mean,
like,
that's the show's gimmick, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I mean, I like some in the first episode they did a thing about like, you know, the id versus the ego, right? They have his like carnivore instincts going against, you know, his thought process of like, oh, this is a society.
He's like a very like tall, quiet wolf, lone wolf, literally.
And again, I think the thing goes to like, you know, like there's that racism thing. There's also like the sexuality of like, what is consent?
Are
consent?
we being open
Are
about
men
how
just
we feel?
carnivores?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
There are some questions I have though about this universe.
there was a cricket, and you're just like, okay, why doesn't that have?
So there are bugs.
Right.
Some of the animals, like, so they had like a chipmunk that was shorter than them, but I was like, okay, but they're like short. But then they also have like some of them that are just tiny,
Rodent, yeah.
like cricket
Legit
size.
Yeah.
and then they do this whole thing about you know, it's carnivores versus herbivores, and they like the pact of this society is that these two groups can live together, and carnivores I guess don't eat meat, so they had lunches with like soy protein and milk
And
eggs though. And so I was like, okay, well, like eggs, like I guess those comes from like chickens or something, right? But there is like an eagle or something in the school, so they just like, and they're drinking milks, like, but we didn't
where's the
see any cows.
That's why they're off scene. So
The hippo was on the carnivore side, which hippos are motherfuckers.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean,
It's kill
I
anything.
I was okay with that, but I was
Hippos
like,
are
interesting
murderers.
choice.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a very kind of like interestingly written sort of like dynamic or world, but I think that also comes into play like with the whole fact that they're all drama students too.
Oh, yeah.
So there is this drama of costume and of sort of like that tension. I
and
mean,
portraying, you know, the carnality of life.
Exactly. Are we really sitting down and like how thin is the sort of like idea of them being animals?
Well, and it's interesting too because, you know, we mentioned BoJack Horseman, but like BoJack Horseman got away with a lot of what it was doing with, you know, kind of the animal people because it like used humor to undercut the idea of this universe a lot. This show is very straightforward.
Oh, yeah.
We're not
Very
getting
serious.
jokes about like, oh, look at the like rabbit character like nibble on a carrot or something.
Yeah.
Like not even anything that like vague.
No, it's very straightforward.
Very sure.
On
serious.
rabbits, I guess the third character is it's this rabbit girl. She's bullied. They throw a mattress at her.
They drew her books. He was just like
That
doing
was-
the flowers
like,
and
who does that, man?
anime.
That was,
That's the comedic humor right there.
Exactly.
If you want
When
some
she's
comedic
bullied by other females, right? Like it's that
Right.
it's that Japanese, you know, females
Yeah.
Oh,
bullying
you're
mentality.
attracting
Yeah.
too many boys.
Too many
'Cause
boys.
Apparently, she's got some pheromones.
If she breathes, she's a thought. That's the
Yep.
that's the maxim of this universe.
Right. Yeah. Apparently, she's attracting some predators or awakening something within them, and that's just sort of the that's the.
I think that's the mystery. So
the
it's just like,
power
why is this happening? You must keep watching more.
See, that's the thing I think it will be the test of the show. Right? Like we talked about it having these strong themes of like race relations or like, you know, sexuality and carnality, but like there is like that little bit of that old fashioned or very Japanese culture thing of like, oh well, she gets quote like from the show played with, but like she lets boys like play with her, and it's just that thing of like, okay, but like, is this going to be about sexuality and consent, or is this going to be like, oh, she's just like, because she's a woman, or because she's a rabbit, or because she is who she is, she's the target of sexual predation,
Right.
or predation at large in this universe.
Yeah.
And is she
And
going
testing that theme, I think,
is she
gonna
going
be
to
crunchy?
Yeah, she mentioned several times she doesn't care, or she's sort of like very apathetic
Yeah.
about how
Yeah.
people view her.
Like,
so it's like,
which is-
what reason is that?
She
So-
immediately assumes that giving a sexual favor is what like our main character wants.
Meanwhile, he's just really awkward.
Which could be a thing, but like, yeah, I don't know. How she grows as a character, I think, is going to be more important to
Right.
what this
Yeah.
show ends up being than how he grows.
Yeah, because obviously he's very quiet and he's
a lone
repressing a lot. So like when he stops doing that, that'll be his character growth.
And
but-
maybe okay, looking at just like the trajectory of the show too, like where do we think this is going to go? Like, I don't think it's going to be a show about like, no, like you need to learn to let your animal instincts run wild, and like that is how nature intended, and like that is like the order of the world, or like that's who you are inside.
Part of him
Yeah.
believes that though, so I feel like
Yeah,
there
but-
is going to be a character that it gets developed eventually or gets revealed.
That's what I think
somebody put some pheromones like in that water or something. And
Literally,
someone's, like,
Zootopia, the
spreading-
anime. I'm just saying.
I mean, I doubt it's going to be 100% about him and his struggle because another carnivore clearly had these feelings, so it is a spreading like sort of
But,
issue.
And that's another thing too. Like, will we be able to see what will we resolve the mystery? Like, who got killed? Why is this stirring up? Things like that. So,
but even beyond that, like, if the trajectory of the show is that, like, do you predict that the end of the show is going to be like, it's really about keeping yourself in check, or like it's really about being an animal and like
go
being
wild, you're an animal.
I don't know, like I'm
let loose.
I don't know that this show can end in a way that I'm like, that is a good
Right.
message.
I mean,
Also,
but,
another thing is, will there be another season? Because it is a Netflix series.
This was a Netflix jail series, though. This series came out in Japan in October of last year, and Netflix was like, America, you can't simuldub this. You're not allowed. This is, again, I keep railing against Netflix for this, and I will continue to.
Until they
They were like, okay, there's a whole season out. We'll now let people in America get it, and I think that's a real disservice to the show, because I think if this was a show that came out weekly in America, you know, the conversation that can develop around like especially a show about a mystery, right? Like this is a show that would have benefited so much from people talking about it on an episode by episode basis.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like, here's the series drop. Do with it what you will, binge watch it, and then don't talk about it with anybody. I think that's a disservice on Netflix's side. Not to say that you guys shouldn't maybe check this out if you're interested to
Definitely check it out. I highly recommend it.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't know what to think of the furry thing, but the more I watch it, obviously, the more interesting it is, right?
Right.
The more of an experience outside my comfort zone it is, and I find that interesting.
Yeah,
and so
same.
there's something there, right?
There's a lot
Meanwhile,
there.
you over here.
I didn't. It's interesting.
I think it's interesting, which is why I'm curious. So curiosity kills the cat. I'm just gonna keep watching just to see what happens.
I understand what it's about, and I get it. It feels a little bit like on the nose.
Too much of your comfort zone.
No. It just feels really on the nose sometimes. I'm used to like these metaphors being very like, oh no, I get what this is supposed to represent, and then they're just like really coming out and saying it. I'm like,
is it going to do nothing but lean on the big bad wolf like
before?
Exactly.
And I'm like, I've seen this sort of like, oh, I'm gonna have a talk with myself angle done like 100 times, so I'm very used to it. So like them being just kind of like, no, it's like the ego and carnivore instinct. I'm like,
ego and animals.
Okay, all right, great. All right, I've seen this before. Like, it's just not. I've seen it done a lot, is what I'm saying. So, I mean, they're gonna need to do a really good job, and it looks like the show is leaning heavily on it. So I'm like, okay, like, is he gonna?
He's gonna eat the rabbit.
I know that's like the whole thing. It's just like, okay, well, he already like bit her or whatever. So just like he clearly isn't in control, and is that again is the whole
That's
show?
That's the mystery. We want to see what happens.
Yeah, the mystery is who is killing people. He's just wrestling with himself.
No, that's the mystery. I think that is starting this show, right? Like, I mean, I think we solved this mystery 4 episodes in or something, and then it's turned into something more, like, because there's 4 volumes of the manga.
Okay, really interesting.
It's out there.
Let us know what you guys think of this series below. If you're gonna check it out, let us know. Make sure to like and subscribe this video so you don't miss the next one, and we will catch you next time.